Thank you very much, dear Jonathan, for this very warm welcome. I feel very home over here. I feel very comfortable. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to speak to you today from my own perspective. And before I start my speech, let me do some pre-remarks. I think it is amazing that this university, the Reichmann University, is bringing together all this international audience over here and all the international and national speakers. Because we as Europeans, and me as a German, especially as a German, I say that, we are living sometimes in a different reality. If we are looking at the scenario over here in the Middle East, especially in Israel. And I think it is very important that we exchange opinions, that we are coming together, that we are discussing, and that we get different perspectives and different experiences. And for that, I want to say a big thank you to the Reichmann University, to the leadership of the university, to the organizers of this conference, to all the staff of the conference. And you can be sure that all the impressive speeches I have seen, especially this morning, the family members of the hostages and the brave fighter Olaf. It was an honor to hear to him, and I will invite him to Germany to speak to our leadership from my command over there. It was great to hear them and to hear a different reality as we read in Germany and in Europe and as we can see in the media over there. Thank you very much for this. A special thank you to Professor Reichmann, to President Garrard, to Boas, and also especially to you, dear Jonathan, and to all the ones who are giving such a big gift to us all the time, because you are caring of these people. You are not bringing them over here. You are caring for them all the time, and this cannot be appreciated highly enough. You are always asking, Jonathan, for applause for others. Now I want to ask the audience for applause for you and for the leadership of Reichmann. Distinguished guests and colleagues, as the President of the Federal Police Special Forces, whose pilots, IT experts, sky marshals, bomb disposal specialists, close protection service, and emergency response teams are always ready to push the boundaries of their capabilities, I deal with risks every day. As a result, I find myself constantly confronted with the question, what truly makes us safer? First of all, we are currently seeing a shift towards a state of permanent volatility. It seems as if security is slipping through our fingers like sand. Reliable and constant security can no longer be taken for granted. This is reflected not only by developments in the Middle East, but also in Ukraine and elsewhere, with serious repercussions for the security situation in Europe. Our supposedly secure foundation is crumbling, a foundation on which rests everything we value as a society: freedom, stability, and prosperity. Values that unite us and are increasingly being put to the test, both in Israel and in Germany. My country is home to 200,000 Jews, half of whom are actively involved in over 130 Jewish communities. Their safety is threatened. By that, I mean the unacceptable rise in anti-Semitic attacks. In 2024, there were 6,236 anti-Semitic crimes reported in Germany. In 2023, the figure was 5,164. This represents a new high since records began. Furthermore, Given the historical context, these figures demonstrate the need for a true turning point in Germany's internal security. The figures show that the situation in the Middle East has a direct impact on radicalization and crime in Germany. For example, Hamas operatives were deliberately smuggled into Europe to carry out attacks. After intensive surveillance, we arrested them, and they are currently on trial in Berlin. Their intention was to act with weapons which were supposed to be placed in depots in Europe. Potential targets included the Israeli embassy, a popular tourist area in Berlin, and the US airbase Ramstein in Germany. This trial in Berlin is just the tip of the iceberg. Hamas' reach extends deep into German society, from front organizations and clan connections to targeted propaganda on social media. Hamas propaganda is penetrating more and more segments of society, in the knowledge that modern terrorism is primarily a battle for hearts and minds, an ideological contest for narratives and dominant interpretation. Its most popular tools, social media and demonstrations. What are our counteractions? From a strategic perspective, since 2022, we have been highlighting the need for action by pursuing a national strategy against anti-Semitism and for Jewish life at the highest political level. From a preventive perspective, we are increasing our personal presence and technical security measures at relevant protected sites. Berlin is the hotspot. This is demonstrated by the 4,069 cases in 2024 related to the Middle East conflict and Hamas terror attacks against Israel. From a repressive perspective, we were implementing bans on associations as Hamas and Samidun. We are also launching action days against anti-Semitic hate crimes online. This has resulted in over 90 investigations involving 50 police raids on apartments across Germany. From a legal perspective, since 2021, judges have been able to hand down sentences that are appropriate for anti-Semitic crimes. The rising incidence of anti-Semitism, violent clashes on the streets, violent demonstrations directed against Israel, and terrorist acts in Germany clearly demonstrate the connection between the security situation in the Middle East and that in Europe. Another example is the precarious migration crisis in Europe. This, to a large extent, stems from the Middle East. Following a migration policy review in Germany and a significant strengthening of border controls at our national borders, we have succeeded in significantly reducing the number of illegal entries and asylum applications in a short period. These measures also serve to reduce terrorism, which is transferred from abroad by illegal migration. My approach to security has always had an international focus. It includes the use of state-of-the-art technology, effective security structures, and an appropriate willingness among leaders to take risks. The protection of our societies also depends, in my opinion, on international trust and international cooperation. Because trust, especially in times of rapidly increasing uncertainty, enables us to act and to cooperate. And because collaboration increases our predictability, combines our capabilities, and allows us to grow in partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, there is no alternative to a strategic, political, and operational tactical alliance on the side of those who defend freedom. Why? Because none of us can distinguish where the front lines are anymore. The world is currently transforming into a global battlefield. Hybrid warfare is taking place at all levels, whether it's cyber attacks on our energy supply, water infrastructure, healthcare, or targeted disinformation campaigns. We are under attack in Germany every day. We face the task of making our structures, which have traditionally been shaped by peace, more resilient against military threats, terrorism, extremism, and crime. In doing so, we must learn from each other across borders and contribute to the expertise of those who have been threatened for decades and who have developed unique skills. That's why I am pleased that our German-Israeli relationship is a strong bond, anchored at all levels. We must not allow this bond to be broken. We ask ourselves what unites us today at all levels. The tragic terrorist attack at the Olympic Games in Munich against the Israeli Olympic team in 1972 and all the failures at that time became a key reference point for the development of the special forces in Germany and for the beginning of an extraordinary international cooperation at an operative level between Israeli and German special forces, which continue to evolve. This relationship has been characterized by friendship and camaraderie for generations. This close cooperation is supported in Germany at a political, strategic level. It was therefore no coincidence that the first foreign trip taken by our Minister of the Interior, Alexander Dobrindt, took him to Israel in June of this year. The slide, please. He expressed his stance as follows, and you can read it on the slide. Quote begins, "Supporting Israel means holding discussions on the ground and gaining an understanding of the situation. I want to show that we support Israel as our closest partner in the fight against terror." End of quote. What are the consequences for Germany? We will cooperate more with our Israeli partners to expand cooperation between intelligence services and security agencies, strengthen our cyber defense, expand our drone defense capabilities, strengthen our civil defense, and establish a center for German-Israeli cyber research. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, this means that we will be working even more closely together on all levels in the fight against terrorism, in the exchange of security-relevant information in cyber defense and disaster protection, and, most important, in our mindset. By that, we reaffirm our commitment to pool our capabilities at all levels in order to jointly overcome future threats. My maxim here is, our common security arises where we can learn from and rely on one another. Finally, I would like to end with a personal message. For decades, it has been my job to assume responsibility at the intersection between strategic and operational crisis management. This includes working towards expanding existing structures that protect people even more effectively by analyzing threat situations, building resilience in organizations, and preparing for both probable and improbable scenarios. But even as we discuss security here, our rivals are spreading fear and insecurity. These anti-democratic forces comprise both state and non-state actors. I see our task as taking responsibility for ensuring that our societies remain stable, even in times of crisis. Responsibility for ensuring that we learn from our experiences together. I'm aware that we won't be able to prevent every crisis, but we must be prepared, constantly review our strategies, and maintain our ability to act, so we can adapt more quickly, politically, strategically, and operationally. For us in Germany, this also means keeping an eye on the entire Middle East. This won't work without further strengthening international cooperation between the region and Europe. Old alliances must be expanded and new ones formed. Ultimately, the goal is to strengthen our liberal democratic community. Thank you very much for your attention.